this video, I'm gonna go through all of my favorite running shoes right now, the ones that I've been putting the most miles in, also the ones that maybe they aren't in my core rotation right now, but they still deserve a spot of mention. So these are all the shoes that I would recommend across all of the major categories as we stand in January 2024. So as I'm doing with the deals video, I'm now going to have a section on the website on Subwell that has all of my current shoe picks. So I'll link that at the description below. You'll be able to go there and see what my top picks are. And then you can also go check out the deals section as well. And of course, we got the trusty old shoe matcher there, which you've heard me yammering on about for the past 3 months. All right, guys, let's get into it. Alright guys, so first up we have the trusty old Nike Pegasus. Now this thing doesn't have the most updated tech, it doesn't have a super bouncy foam, it doesn't have a race day experience, there's no plate in here. It's just a trusty old running shoe that gets the job done. And for me, I love this shoe for daily use and walking. This is my #1 casual shoe of choice. And as you can see here, I wore it through the airport. It's the shoe that I always pull for when traveling, no matter where I'm going, because if I do happen to have my bag get lost or if something happens where I don't have my shoes, I know that I can always throw down some miles on the treadmill on the Pegasus, which I've done a ton in this shoe. Now on this trip, I did bring some other shoes that I wanted to talk about and review, so I didn't do my treadmill run in this shoe yet. But if you are looking for a simple do-it-all shoe that can just get the job done and won't break the bank, because the Pegasus is on sale right now for $70 in some places. I think I have the Dick's Sporting Goods link up on the site right now at Subwell. So if you need a new shoe that's affordable, that looks good, that can get the job done, that's where the Nike Peg comes into play. Also, I'm really looking forward to getting the 41 on foot later this year, which is going to have an updated foam React X versus this one, which is the standard version of that React foam. Alright guys, next up here in the daily trainer category, we have another Nike. It is the Nike Vomero 17. Now this is a shoe that I've been doing almost all of my everyday miles in. I've been rotating between this and one more shoe, which I'll get into next, but this is just a really solid shoe that doesn't have too much foam underfoot. For me, I really like the feeling of a more flexible forefoot, which this offers, and it has Nike Zoom X foam, so that's going to be the key differentiator of this daily trainer versus a lot of the other ones on the market, like the Gel Cumulus or the Nova Blast. This is giving you that Zoom X ride just on the top layer here, but with a little bit more stability from the Cushlon EVA foam. So this is an awesome shoe if you are a heel striker, or if you want a shoe that just has a simple but a little bit of a peppier, more fun ride than other shoes out there on the market. So one of the issues that I've had with some daily trainer or even recovery style max cushion shoes is that they tend to have a little bit too much foam. Kind of feels like I'm fighting against the foam. I don't get that experience here in the Vomero, and that's why it's my favorite daily trainer right now. I don't put it in that max cushion category just because the foam in the forefoot isn't too overwhelming, which I really like out there on the run. This is also going to be a great winter running shoe because it has this really thick outsole rubber here, which is again why it's leading off my list here for the daily trainer section, because of how robust this is going to be for any of those runs that you might need to be getting through in this tough section of the calendar for us runners. Good luck to all you guys waking up at 5:30 a.m. charging through snowstorms and rainstorms. I applaud you. Alright guys, next up we have my favorite recovery running shoe, my favorite soft cushioned shoe right now on the market, and that is the New Balance 1080 V13. So this thing uses New Balance's Fresh Foam formula. New Balance has two main foams. One is Fresh Foam, which is this more cushioned training foam, and then they have their racing foam, which is called Fuel Cell. So Fresh Foam, especially in this 1080 V13, is super soft. It just has a little bit of bounce, and for me it has the perfect blend between impact absorption and giving me a little bit of that pep and energy return. This is definitely not a shoe where I want to run fast in it. I think I've done one run ever where I did any sub 6:30 pace, but for those everyday miles where I'm going on the slower side, so I actually like running in the shoe slower than 8-minute miles is typically the sweet spot for me. To give you some context, my current marathon pace that I'm training for is anywhere between 6:20 and 6:40. I ran a half at low 6 range, so 8 minutes for me is a pretty relaxed pace, and that's where this 1080 really shines, is that relaxed running out there when I just want to go out there, move the legs. I'm not concerned about hitting a time, just want to keep the heart rate low, enjoy the beautiful sounds of the birds, take a little squirrel census, just enjoy the run. And another thing to recommend it here that I think kind of gets slept on is this probably has the best upper in the game. It is so dialed in, the fit of it is super soft. Everything about the shoe is a luxury experience. It's like the Cadillac Escalade or the Jeep Grand Wagoneer of running shoes. It's just an all-American beast that's going to give you a super luxed out experience. At 165, is a little bit more expensive than other cushion shoes on the market, which typically go for that 160 price range. But in my opinion, it's worth it. It's also given me some better miles in the later stages of its life than its main competitor, which is the Asics Gel Nimbus 25. So for that $5 more, if you're getting up to 300, 400 miles with your shoes, this is going to be the best buy at that range. All right, guys, now we're getting into the plated section here, and my top plated training shoe right now for faster work is the Adidas Boston 12. Now, this is a shoe that's been a little bit divisive in the market. I know my guy Andrew, Midlife Runner, isn't loving his miles in the shoe, and some other runners have found it to be just a little bit firm out of the box, and some people never really like it and it doesn't soften up for them. But for me, this is a shoe that warmed up between maybe 50 and 70 miles. First few runs in it were a little bit blocky, a little bit chunky, a little bit stiff, but when I really unlocked the potential of the shoe was when I started throwing down some faster pace. So running 6 flat miles, which for me is around half marathon pace, even faster than that. I've done some lactate threshold miles in this, which for me is around 535, 540, 550. Anything in that zone, this shoe is going to be a really awesome shoe. And then for long runs where I have marathon race pace in there, this is my shoe of choice. The reason for me it's better than other plated trainers I've tried for those long runs, for marathon pace or speed work, is because that stiffer platform does give you more structure and more support for the later stages of those efforts. This is designed as that true marathon training shoe, where if you're on your feet for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, I did a 22-mile long run yesterday at a relaxed pace, so I was on my feet for 2 hours and 53 minutes, and in the later stages of that run, you don't want something super soft and mushy, and that's why the Boston 12 is so great, because when you are picking up the pace at the end, when you need to dig in, it's going to give you that little bit of pushback and that little bit of return that comes from having a firmer foam. So if you're training for a marathon and you want something that can support your big workouts, those 20-miler beasts, or even those lactate threshold workouts in the middle of the week, even some light track work, Boston 12 is going to be your do-it-all shoe. Hands down, the best plated training shoe on the market for marathon training that I've tried in the past year. All right, guys, next up in the plated trainer section, we have the New Balance SC Trainer V2. Now, I've been sitting on doing a review of this for a while, and I'm actually going to do it tomorrow morning. So by the time you watch this, depending on when you watch it, it's probably going to be posted sitting right here in this hotel room. But SC Trainer V2 is on the opposite side of the plated trainer spectrum when you're comparing it to the Boston 12. So that Boston 12 is fast, it's firm, it has a little bit of an uncomfortable, stiffer feeling. It can have that feeling at slower paces. This is the complete opposite because it's soft, it's forgiving, it just encourages you to gently roll along. And while you can pick up the pace in it, for me, it doesn't encourage me to just go out there and throw down like that Boston 12 does, right? That Boston 12 has that thicker stack of race day foam up in the forefoot. This has one continuous piece of midsole foam, so it's all fuel cell and it's a softer foam than either of those Adidas's foams, which means it's a lot better for running at slower paces. So while it does have the plate in here, what the plate does is it just gives you a little bit extra pep to run fast when you want to, but it's not too harsh underfoot, and it's not going to penalize you for running slow because the fuel cell is very forgiving. So how I've been liking using the shoe and where I think it reigns as king is for a long run marathon training shoe. So Boston 12 is a great choice if you're going to be running super fast on your long runs, if you have any marathon race pace or threshold. This is a good choice if you don't have pace in your long runs, if you're just getting out there and grooving, but you want something with a little bit more bite to it than the 1080 V13 or Gel Nimbus. I've also liked this for some of my everyday miles where I want to go a little bit faster and give the legs a break. So something like the Vomero really shines as a simpler daily trainer when I want a little bit more of that connected ground feel experience. This does not have any ground feel whatsoever. It completely mutes it with the combination of the plate and the foam. So for those days where I'm feeling maybe a little bit beat up, where I want a little bit more pizzazz or fun in my runs, that's where the SC Trainer V2 comes in. So this colorway, I actually got this on sale for $140. I think there's probably some on sale still. I will put the deal on the landing page in Supwell for the SC Trainer V2 if it's still live, so I'll make sure to check that editing the video. At MSRP 180, a little bit steep, but at that 143 deal, great buy. Okay, so next up we're getting into the lightweight training shoe segment, and my first pick in this category is the New Balance Rebel V3. Now this was my favorite shoe to run in last summer. I'm still putting some good miles in it. It has around 250 miles, my pair, and it's fast, it's fun, connected to the ground, and very flexible underfoot. This deal popped up last week at Foot Locker. I believe there's still some availability. You can check it out on the Subwell landing page, but it was $65 they're selling the shoe, and for that price, this is a complete no-brainer. There's no shoe on the market that's going to offer this fun of a ride at that price point, or even at an $100 or $120 price point. The New Balance has been on a heater for me recently. Every single shoe I've tried from them in the past year has hit this, the 1080, the SC Trainer V2, and this slots in as that shoe for those days where you want something a little bit lighter weight, where you're going to go fast. Maybe you have a structured workout, maybe you have a fartlek, but anything even up to 2 hours, if you are a strong runner, this can be a great shoe. I highlighted this in my best deals video. This is also a great winter running shoe for the treadmill. Because it is lighter weight, it turns over really well for that indoor running style. Alright guys, next up we have the Adidas Adizero SL. This is a little bit of a hybrid between a daily trainer and a lightweight workout shoe. It can be a do-it-all shoe for workouts and everyday running for someone who likes a faster ride and doesn't want to spend a bunch of money on building out a big rotation. And the reason I like this shoe is because it has, again, that simple ride that I'm really a fan of, and it has this little puck of Light Strike Pro up in the forefoot. So when you are forefoot striking, when you are running a little bit faster, it really activates well and pops you right off. So I don't recommend shoes that I don't run in, and I don't recommend shoes that I haven't run in recently, and this is one that I ran in just last week. I took it to the treadmill. This is now my gym treadmill hybrid shoe, and still felt great at 280 miles, which for me is pretty impressive. I usually take my shoes to around 300 miles, and this feels just as good, if not better, than it did right out of the box. Again, with Adidas, some of these shoes require some break-in because they're Light Strike foam here, and then that Light Strike 2.0 foam, the Boston 12. They are a little bit firmer, more structured standard EVAs. Once you get them rolling, if you don't mind a little bit of a firmer ride, then this is a great choice. So this was on sale for some ridiculous low bargain prices, $35 for most of last year. I've now only seen it on sale for, I think, up at 70 or 80. So those ridiculous prices we saw are gone, but I still believe this is a really good buy. The Rebel's probably a better buy if you want something softer, but if you like a firmer, more structured ride, something for the gym, something for walking around, then Adizero SL is a great choice. Alright guys, next up, another Adidas back-to-back. This time we have a plated lightweight training shoe. The only one I'm highlighting here, it's actually a 5K, 10K racer, but is the Adidas Takumi Sen. This is one of my all-time favorite fast shoes to run in. It's in a category that is super competitive. I'm looking to try some more of these shoes this year. Nike Streakfly 2 is on my list for sure. So what this category offers, and specifically this Adidas Takumi Sen, is a little bit of a lower stack than those traditional marathon racing shoes like an Adidas Adios Pro 3 or the Nike Vaporfly. And in this shoe too, we have Adidas's energy rod set up, but it's a glass fiber energy rod instead of a carbon fiber energy rod. The word snappy gets thrown around a lot when people describe running shoes, but that is a great way to describe the shoe in that it feels like it's snapping you right off as you land. So whether you're landing on your heels or your forefoot or your midfoot, the combination of this really bouncy foam and those glass fiber energy rods when you're running 10K pace or faster just completely snap you. It feels like as soon as your foot hits the ground, it's bouncing right back off. So that's a really fun ride experience. It's one of the most fun shoes to run in if you're doing 10K pace work, if you're doing 5K pace work. So if you are in a part of your training cycle where you have a lot of those shorter but faster repeats, there's probably no other better shoe to handle that than the Adidas Takumi Sen. Alright guys, last two here. I'm going to highlight my favorite racing shoes right now. So first up, we have the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent 3. I tested the Alphafly. I did some really good miles in it. I did a 20 miler, and then I did that beast workout at 5K pace, and I did a 12-mile tempo in it. It could not knock off the Vaporfly as my favorite racing shoe. So Vaporfly Next Percent 2 probably still gets the edge a little bit compared to the 3. It just has a little bit of a more connected feeling in the forefoot. There's a more rubber, so you're getting less of that soft foam, which I think I like. But Vaporfly 3 is still a very good shoe. Feels super fast. It just works well for my foot strike with a little bit more of that chunk of heel foam out in the back when I'm running at slower paces or even marathon pace where I might be shuffling along, hitting the heel, running heel to toe a little bit. It works perfectly for my gait. On foot, this feels light, this feels floaty. It's not going to give you that super snap off like the Takumi Sen that I described. It's going to have a little bit more of a controlled feeling to it, which is good for a shoe like this that you might have on your foot for 2.5 to 4.5 hours racing the marathon, depending on what your pace range is. So pricing in this is in line with the market. I have seen them start to raise the prices on some of the special edition colorways, which Nike tends to do. So I saw one up for $270 recently, which is mind-boggling that these shoes are now going to be priced near 300, and Alphafly 4, Vaporfly 4, I'm sure will be MSRP 300. But before we get there, this is 260, 270, which is a little bit steep and of course expensive given the rest of expenses we all have in our life, but worth it if you do want that ultimate top tier racing performance. Durability isn't going to be on par with the training shoe, but that's not what this is for. And if you reserve it for your most special workouts and for your race days, then you can stretch this to use it for a year or 2 years if you want to. All right, guys, last here we have another one of my favorite racing shoes. This is my recommendation for recreational runners. It is the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3. This is going to be the marathon racing shoe, the half marathon racing shoe that is best for most people out there. I raced my first marathon in this shoe. I've done a ton of long runs in this shoe. I have more than 300 miles across 2 different pairs of this total. So this is a shoe that I've loved. It used to be my long run shoe for faster work before I got the Boston 12 in the office. And it's just an all around solid shoe. It has a little bit more stability than the Vaporfly. It has that carbon fiber plate, which is going to give the snap, and then that Power Run PB is a little bit firmer than the Vaporfly, so again adds to that stability while still giving some solid energy return. Now, some people have commented that they know sub 230, sub 3 hour marathoners who love this shoe. And yes, this can be a shoe for faster runners, but the reason I love it is because it's also a very friendly shoe for runners who aren't running sub 245, sub 230 in the marathon. I think it feels great at a 7-minute, 7:30, 8-minute, 8:30 pace. When I'm warming up during long runs and I have race pace, the shoe feels great. When I did that Alphafly comparison workout and I was running back, jogging in the shoe, it felt great. So it's a really versatile shoe for all the ranges of paces that you might be doing during training. And with the amount of rubber coverage that it has on the bottom here, is going to be a much more durable platform than the Vaporfly or the Alphafly. And the last thing is $25 cheaper MSRP than the Vaporfly, or actually now probably $35 because they raised the Vaporfly price by $10. So you are going to be getting a great mileage per dollar value here in the Endorphin Pro 3. So all right, guys, those are my 10 picks for my favorite shoes of January 2024. I'm excited to get the Velocity Nitro 3 in here. Hopefully it can knock off one of these daily trainers and slot into that favorite section. I'm excited to get some other shoes in the mix here, but until then, this is my top 10. Let me know in the comments what your top 10 shoes are right now. As always, thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with another video.